So, really important question. How do I keep sanity on the road? I think everyone has a different practice for this. I know for me, and I actually get this from my family, so shout out to my mom and other folks who do this. As soon as I get into a hotel room or an Airbnb or, staying at a friend's house, whatever the situation is, family, the first thing I do is situate everything as much as possible as it is at home. So that means when I get in, I unpack all my clothes. I pull out my medicine and toiletry bag and all that stuff, and set it up in whatever bathroom I'm going to be in. Not taking up everything, but whatever my piece of the bathroom is. And then that leads to me bringing stuff from home that makes me feel the most comfortable. Like, for instance, I know I was going to be here for a few days, so I actually brought my favorite robe from home. It's like, yeah, if there's space for it, let's bring it. Why not? And I also brought some foot slippers that I got for free when I was doing some overseas travel. And I don't use foot slippers at home as much. Actually, I have an official pair at home. But I got the slippers while I was traveling overseas, and I was like, these might come in handy. And so I brought these, and these are great. Because carpet or whatever might be going on. So that makes me feel more cozy. A certain sense of home. Shout out to Jenny Blake, who I've mentioned before. She did the awesome book Pivot, as well as her recent book, I think it's called Free Time, which she talks about how you can manage your time and make more time for the things that you love. You can tell why her and I are good colleagues. I think she does this, as well as a couple other people who actually bring candles. You have to be careful with the smoke systems, but folks will bring candles and then light them so those smells of home are familiar. Those little details, they might seem kind of weird or trivial, but they start to add up, particularly if you're doing long-term travel. This is not long-term travel for me, but when I did my first major book called Porn and Pong, How Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, and Other Sexy Games Changed Our Culture. That was almost 16 years ago, long while ago. I'm like stuttering. I'm like, I can't believe it's been that long. But that was back in 2008. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So I planned travel all across the country. And I did it within about 3 weeks without coming back home. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. And probably by week 2, I realized I made a mistake. And I was like, so I know me well enough where me checking in back home, even though I have traveled a lot, me checking in back home between big travel things, even for just a day, helps me reset, as opposed to me just being on the road and not coming back. In having that experience and some other experiences that I'll probably get into another time, I realized how crucial it was for me to feel centered as I was traveling. Because whether you're into routine or not into routine, when I was younger, I wasn't as much into routine. We still have certain things that we feel that give us comfort and that help create the structure of our lives. Even if we rebel against having a routine, that in itself is a routine, right? Right. As my friend Nilofer Merchant, shout out to her, does a wonderful book called The Power of Onlyness. And she talks about being a rebel. And when we say we're being a rebel, that's not the same as being a leader. A leader says, I'm going to create a new path for us to go on. I'm going to lead the way. A rebel says, whatever we're doing right now isn't working. We need to tear it down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they know what's next. So even if we're working within a structure and we're rebelling against a structure, we're still responding to the structure. What happens when there is no structure, aka when you're on the road? Those little details, whether it's little candles, again, be careful. I've set off smoke alarms, so that's why I don't do the candles anymore. But if you do like little tea leaf candles, tiny candles, there's certain fragrances. I love lavender, so I got the lavender joints all in this place. Whatever, you got the slippers, cheap house slippers, but they feel so good. I brought my favorite robe. Like, get that stuff that makes you feel comfortable and rock with it. If you can bring that space, if you have the space to bring it, I mean, why not? And even if it takes a little bit of your luggage space, get you your Parvel over here. There's plenty of space in that joint. Then you're good. and bring them. Why not? And I think that will help a lot. There's also some practical tools that I think might help as far as comfort level and keeping your sanity on the road. Okay, this is out of all the stuff I'm recommending. I If you've been a long time, as they say, a long time listener, first time caller, if you're one of those folks who've been watching Bring Your Worth TV for a while, for the 400 episodes, you've heard me mention TripIt a lot. I am not sponsored by them. Nothing like that. I just love their product. If you guys want to sponsor, give me a holler. But this is just because I love their stuff. TripIt is really, really, really simple. And the OG as far as the travel space. You put your information in there. In fact, you can forward it. Once you get your Airbnb, your hotel information, your car rental, whatever it is. Even if there's like a play or a movie you're going to go to, any of that information. Once you get that email, you don't have to put it into the app. You just email it to their specific address. I'm not going to mention the address because they might be changing it. You send it to that address. Within 5-10 seconds, they email you back, automatic reply. They say, hey, we got it. And they'll let you know if there's any issues with the reservation, like if there's conflicts or whatever. Other than that, they have this platform, usually through the app, which I recommend getting the app, and it will organize all your stuff. Most important thing, though, is not just the organization, but also that it will warn you if things change. And so I remember being on a flight to Pittsburgh, and I forgot why I was in Pittsburgh. I think it might have been a layover or something. And me and whomever I was with being stuck on the tarmac. And whenever there was a delay or an update, because they also, whoever it was also at TripIt, our phone would buzz at the same time and would say, hey, this Delta flight is delayed, for another half an hour. Just be prepared, or did you want to find an alternate flight? And then it would be like 10 minutes later, I'm not exaggerating, then it'd be like, hey, it's your pilot speaking, right? You're gonna be delayed for another 20 minutes, which of course makes it to 30 minutes plus a 10-minute delay, right? And it was like, oh, wow. And that happened like 4 times during the course of this very complicated trip. I think it might have been snow or something that totally screwed it up. Welcome to Pittsburgh, right? Shout out to my Pittsburgh folks. And, but that's what TripIt does. After that experience, I was like, oh, I'm lifelong TripIt. Like, forget that. Particularly, like, this is just a national travel. This is just within the States. With the international travel that I've done, it has totally saved my behind. And also, they just recently advanced it, I would say over the last 6 months maybe, where you can actually change your flight within it. And so they will help with that process with, if you're a road warrior like myself, being able to change your flight without having to stay in the line, whatever, is good. And I've had elite status with a lot of the airlines. Still, what TripIt's able to do is a little bit better than some of the elite status. So shout out to TripIt. Be sure and check it out. Again, this isn't affiliate or anything. I'm not connected to them. I just love their stuff. Be sure and check it out if you're going to be traveling. Road trips, you might not need it as much, but if you're going to be in the air or anything that requires a train, man, trains are crazy. I used to take a lot of trains, and they could be a day late. Easy. I don't know if that's happened or changed or not, because it's been a while since I've been on a train. But if you're on any type of system traveling where it's not a car, you actually have to depend on someone else being on time, please get TripIt. There's a free version of it. There's also TripIt Pro. I think the Pro might be $50 a year. It might be a little bit more. How valuable is your time? You got to ask yourself that question. Again, the question, how do I keep sanity on the road? That part. More gadgets. This is actually one of my favorites. I've had this forever. This is actually the TripIt. Got TripIt and TripIt. TripIt Stormbox 2 Bluetooth speaker. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of it. In fact, I should be able to turn it on. Hopefully the mic won't go away. So really simple setup. There's a power button. There's the Bluetooth button. There's a whole story behind the history of Bluetooth. You should look it up more sometime. It has to do with, I think, Danish culture. It's crazy. And then there's the bass boost. And then this little thing is more power. You can lift this up. This part is a little bit tricky, so, but I want to be honest with how it works. Okay, so you open it up, and then of course you can plug that in to charge it up. There's no battery, it just plugs into the wall, which, and then we can do this. Right, and then it's going to try to connect to my phone. There you go, it just connected to my phone. So, yeah. I was listening to the Michelle and Giacello Tiny Desk concert, which you should listen to. There we go. See, I knew it was going to mute me. See, that's why you don't do the live tech demos. Sorry about that. What I was saying is that it was connecting, but I thought it was connected to my phone because that's what I was listening to. And evidently it connected to my computer. But it's usually connected to my computer anyway, so it's not a problem of the device. It's more a problem of how my system is set up back to systems. I love this device. It is, again, light. It might be 2 pounds. You see me just flinging it around. I want to respect the other people where I'm at, so I'm not going to blast it right now. But when I'm at home, and the new Griselda comes out, or the Kendrick Lamar stuff that I've been listening to a lot. Again, I've done a lot of videos about him recently, or even the new J. Cole stuff that's come out recently, or just listening to Angela Bofield, rest in peace, classic R&B that I grew up with back in the 70s. Like, it's fire. Shout out to David Sanborn, who just died recently too, and I did a newsletter about him a few weeks ago. The classic, iconic jazz saxophonist. You might not know his name, but you definitely heard his work. And me blasting him, and the bass and the sound and the hi-hats and the treble. It's excellent speaker, and it's super portable. I've taken this to the beach before and stuff like that. Definitely taken it on road trips. Check it out. And it's super affordable at this point. When I got it as a gift a few years ago, shout out to my family, I got it as a gift a few years ago, it was a lot more expensive. Now it's considered more of a vintage model, but it works excellent, and I've had no problems with it. I want to say the battery life is I probably have to charge it maybe once a week, and I use it a lot. I use it while I'm working, even while I'm editing these videos. As I edit this video for the replay, which you guys can also check out, then I'll probably be listening to this, particularly when I'm back home. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And this one is a fun one. I just got this. I'm so excited. I'm not going to sing the Pointer Sisters, I promise. This is, make sure I get the name right. This is the Crosley CR 8005F MT Cruiser. Man, these names. Plus vintage 3-speed Bluetooth in-out suitcase vinyl record. It's a portable record player. That's what it is. Shout out to Crosley. I just got this joint. It's super light. And it opens like this. I feel like I'm suddenly in some type of mysterious briefcase movie. Pulp Fiction. I was like, what's the movie with the briefcase? This is joint right here. Hopefully you can see it well. And I can take this down as well, so you guys can actually see. There we go. Getting new surroundings makes it harder. And everything's backwards here. So give me a moment. There we go. So you can see that. There's actually a 45. Actually, it fell off. But it does all three speeds. What are the speeds? It's 78, 33, and then the middle one is 45. And again, if you're in my age group, or your vinyl, the vibe is they have a little 45 in here. And then this setup, as you can see, you have your power, you have your pitch, you have your volume, and as it says in the setup, this is all Bluetooth based. And so it goes in 2 directions, which I'm still having a lot of fun experimenting with. It goes in 2 directions. There's speakers in there. And so if you have something like, again, I have my phone right here, or even my computer, you can actually Bluetooth connect to it and then use it as a speaker. And of course, when you have your vinyl, like your Angela Bofill record, which I plan on getting later on this week, I cannot wait. The Angel of the Night album, that's going to be the first album I get for this. I used to have a bigger vinyl collection, and then I traveled and moved so much, as I talked about earlier. I ended up getting rid of a lot of it. I don't regret that because like my partner and I and with the kids and all that, sometimes we lived in very small spaces. Not New York small, not Manhattan small, but fairly small places where if you have, a few hundred vinyl records, it's not going to work. So I don't regret giving them away. But for so long, I've been looking forward to getting a record player again. Two important things about this. First of all, there's currently a sale, like at this moment, which is one of the reasons why I copped it. So if you want to go and cop it, now would be the time. The links are below. The second thing is that I've had probably a handful of record players, particularly in my adulthood, and me and my best friend, shout out to Ray, us going vinyl shopping back in Chicago when I was post-grad after going to Northwestern. And that was many, many an afternoon, particularly if you're a broke post-grad student living in an expensive city, which Chicago, more expensive cities around, but when you're broke, Chicago's pretty expensive. And it was wonderful filling up afternoons looking at vinyl. And then, of course, vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. Now I sound like the old man. Vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. And so we're able to go and get, vintage Alice Coltrane, who is John Coltrane's widow, and in some ways a fantastic, maybe arguably better musician than he is. I know it's sacrilege, but finding her joints, and they were like 99 cents. And getting into the classic Bob James, shout out to Bob James. A lot of the jazz stuff, even musicians that I wanted to get into, but I couldn't afford to, and I was able to find their vinyl. The reason why it really works as a travel thing is it's ridiculously light, and it's also very, very affordable at this moment. I can't promise the price, but if you're watching it live, the price is really good right now. With the other turntables I've had, they have not been portable. I don't know. You don't want to have your Techniques, 200s or whatever, or 1800s. I think they're 1800s. The Techniques 1800s, whatever, and having them under your arm, and then you're trying to go to the airport, or you're going to the beach for the day. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's not going to work. Also, too, with the Renaissance and other people realizing that vinyl is fantastic. Again, my best friend and I were ahead of that wave, a long time ago. Let's leave it at that, decades ago. But with that wave coming back, there's an opportunity for you to get involved in grabbing vinyl. And depending on what type of trip you're doing, taking the vinyl with you actually isn't that ridiculous. Or if you look at it this way, which will probably happen as I'm traveling right now, even finding vinyl or records where you happen to be traveling to and being able to play them back at your hotel, back at your Airbnb, back to your family's place, whatever. Just this portability factor made it like a no-brainer for me. It was just like, no, I need to have this as I travel on the road. So I'm really excited to keep experimenting with it. Build my collection back up. It's affordable and it's portable. And yeah, with in the age where I was buying turntables, which we call it hip hop. When I was buying turntables, they would cost $200, $300. This one is far cheaper than that, and it's portable and it's Bluetooth compatible. Forget about it. So definitely check that out. I know it's going to be helping me with my sanity already as I do more travel later on this year. Again, that's the Crossley. I'm not going to say the rest of that, but it's a suitcase vinyl record player turntable. Man, someone needs to work it. Man, we need to find it. We need to do better. We need to find a better way to put that into 3 or 4 words. Lastly, when I'm keeping my sanity, I love the Delta Gold Card. It's a credit card. I've had it for ages, a long time, probably since my youngest one was born, maybe a little bit less than that. So I've been hardcore with that. Number one, I love Delta. The 3 major carriers that gets across America. It's Delta, American, United. Delta is my joint. I got a lot of stories. I've done a lot of traveling. I've done my research. Shout out to the points guy. Yeah, Delta's the one for me. Delta's one for me. If you want to rock with Delta, if you're curious about Delta, or if you're already into Delta, there's many reasons to get this card. Number one, out of the different cards that are available, it is by far the most affordable. There's some of the cards that have an annual fee. This has a very small one, so that's one. The second thing is that it allows you to have free baggage for yourself and anyone who is actually on the same ticket/flight as you are. So if it's like you, let's say it's you and your mom and your aunt. If you guys buy the ticket at the same time and you're all on the same ticket, that's what they call it, the same ticket, and it's all purchased on the same time, then all of y'all would get free luggage. To get you up to speed, if you don't travel that much or if you haven't traveled in airports for a while, pretty much the standard is if you're checking in a bag, it's going to be $50 minimum. When I did the overseas travel, I think it was 60. Now they had a little, and then of course you have your 50 pound limit for each of the pieces of luggage. I believe with this card currently, and the things change, so please look at the link for details. I think currently you can have up to 2 pieces of luggage checked in for free. So off the rip, if you, again, I recently had a European trip. So the trip over there, if you check in one bag, that's, let's say $60. And then you're coming back. Remember, it's not round trip. So you're coming back, and you're also paying $60. So whatever small fee they have, the annual fee, it's going to be taken care of by the time you do your first trip, for sure. If you're checking anything in. I check in less stuff because I tend to be a lighter traveler. Again, that's why the Paravel like suitcase, that's like big for me. You know what I mean? Like in another lifetime, I'd be a backpacker. So that's plenty of space for me. But yeah, as I get older, of course, traveling with other people and my kids, all that stuff, it's like, oh, that's going to come in handy. And it did, again, with the recent family travel and other stuff. You also get points based on what you purchase. So of course you get, Delta frequent flyer miles for everything that you purchase, because every dollar that you spend turns into 1 frequent flyer point. Over the course of a year, or in my case, many years, it adds up really quickly, which allows you to do free travel. Two caveats in a good way to that. The first thing is that there's certain things that give you more points. Like if you use this card, I think it's currently at restaurants, then you get 2 to 3 points per dollar. So if you end up having a fancy business dinner, which I'll have a few times a year, I'll take a client out or whatever situation it is. And let's say you spend $250 on dinner, which, for three people for a fancy dinner here in Vegas or general Vegas area isn't unusual. So you spend $250 on that. Then that ends up being perhaps, I think it's double or triple the points. So then you end up having 500 frequent flyer miles or even 750 frequent flyer miles. And as of this recording, or as you're watching this live, I think the cheapest Delta flight is about 7,500 frequent flyer points. I've gotten a few of those. So you do that $250 dinner, assuming it's 3x for that, then you got 750 and you're a tenth of the way to getting a free flight, just like that. And then you pay off your credit card and do whatever you need to do financially to do it, but at least they record that part of it. The second caveat with that is that as you go ahead and build up points, and as you're working with the card, then it actually enables you to get access to certain discounts that only card owners have. And so a relative of mine recently experienced that, where her and a friend wanted to go traveling, and she had this card. It's either this card or one of the higher echelon ones, but it was part of the Delta card family. Let's just say she had this card. She had this card. Her friend did not have this card. They went to, book things together because they wanted to fly together to this place. And they actually had access to different seats, right. So there's certain seats that were like blocked off for my relative's friend, but my relative saw the seat and was like, why don't you just get the seat next to me? And her friend was like, well, there isn't, it says the seat's not available. And they were like, oh, wait a second. You have the card. I don't. That's what happened. this is a recent discovery. And so even as far as your availability of seats, how much your seats might cost, particularly how much they cost in frequent flyer points, there's different tiers depending on if you have this card or not. A lot of reasons for it. There's actually a referral link. So I will get a bonus for it, but then I think you get a really nice bonus, like probably more points than I got when I signed up for this card way back in the day. It's in the tens of thousands of frequent flyer points if you end up signing up with this link. Hopefully it serves you well. I try to put up stuff on here that's going to serve everybody that is watching the show. So I wouldn't be recommending it if it wasn't fire. I've had the card for, again, almost the whole lifetime of my youngest son, and he's about to go into third grade. So I rock with this card heavy. There's also different tiers of the card. The gold is the most basic one. That's worked out well for me. I think there's a platinum one, and I think there's a blue one, which if you want access to the lounge and the real baller stuff, which I used to do, but I don't need that anymore. But go and check out the link. There's like 3 different options there. Have a blast. If you're going to be traveling and flying anyway, I say go ahead and get your points for it and do your thing. And, me having the card and other opportunities allows me to keep my sanity on the road. Again, my name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, or otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. You're watching the Bring Your Worth show at Bring Your Worth TV every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. And I also have some bonus episodes that you should check out. I mentioned at the top of the show. You subscribe for free at bringyourworth.tv or on whatever platform you're rocking with. Feel free to do a follow or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Every platform's different. I can't keep up with it. I'm not a tech guy anymore, so I don't have to keep up with it anymore. But whatever your flavor is, feel free to follow or like or whatever so you can keep abreast of it. The simplest way actually to do it is go to bringyourworth.tv, subscribe, and then you get notifications. Hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications via email whenever a new episode comes out. You get my complete Bring Your Worth collection. It's over here. Here we go. Complete Bring Your Worth collection available now. And you can also watch it at bringyourworth.tv at the link below. And a recent episode that you can watch right now. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, Creative Power Strategy. There's a great conversation happening over there, as well as with the shorts, the short video clips that are related to it. Some great conversations. And again, if you've been into music or hip hop recently, you know there's been a big conversation. I'd love to contribute my piece of it. More importantly, what strategies, business strategies we can learn from the current 3 GOATs, greatest of all time, of our generation of hip hoppers.